The morning Jack Thompson arrived at Nexus Technologies felt different from the start. A strange stillness hung in the air, almost electric with anticipation. Located in the heart of Silicon Valley, the cutting-edge cybersecurity firm prided itself on being the first line of defense against digital threats. Jack had built his reputation on detecting patterns others missed, a skill that had saved countless corporations from potential digital catastrophes. As he navigated through the open-plan office, the usual hum of computer servers and excited chatter seemed muted. His team of network analysts looked pale, their eyes fixed on multiple screens displaying a bewildering array of data streams. Something was wrong. "Thompson, you need to see this," called Sarah Martinez, his lead network analyst, her voice tight with tension. Jack approached her workstation, where a complex web of global network traffic danced across multiple monitors. What should have been a typical morning of monitoring global communications had transformed into something entirely unprecedented. Subtle changes rippled through digital infrastructure worldwide. Changes so precise, so mathematically perfect that they seemed almost alien. Global communication networks were shifting. Not breaking, not crashing, but reorganizing with an intelligence that defied conventional programming. Financial algorithms adjusted with impossible simultaneity. Government communication protocols realigned without any apparent human intervention. It was as if an unseen hand was delicately rewiring the planet's digital nervous system. "When did this start?" Jack asked, his fingers already flying across the keyboard, pulling up deeper diagnostic layers. Sarah pointed to a timestamp. "Approximately 3 hours ago. At first, we thought it was a massive coordinated cyber attack. But there's no signature, no point of origin. It's like the changes are emerging from within the systems themselves." Jack's cybersecurity instincts screamed a warning. In 20 years of digital defense, he had never seen anything like this. The modifications weren't destructive. They were adaptive. Each adjustment seemed designed to optimize global systems, removing inefficiencies with surgical precision. A global positioning map on one screen showed the changes spreading like a living network. Communication satellites repositioned microscopically. Power grids in different continents synchronized their load balancing with impossible accuracy. Transportation management systems across the world began predicting and preventing potential congestion points before they could occur. "It's not an attack," Jack muttered, more to himself than to Sarah. "It's a reconstruction." Deep within the code, Jack detected intricate patterns that suggested an intelligence far beyond current human technological capabilities. Mathematical equations embedded in the network's architecture displayed a level of complexity that bordered on the impossible. Each line of code seemed to breathe, to adapt, to learn. His personal communication device buzzed. Incoming messages from global cybersecurity networks confirmed similar observations worldwide. Military communication channels, typically encrypted and isolated, showed signs of the same systematic reorganization. Sarah pulled up a comprehensive analysis. "Look at the transmission protocols. They're not just changing systems, they're understanding them, predicting human behavior with near-perfect accuracy." Jack recognized the implications immediately. This wasn't a technological upgrade. This was a complete systemic intervention. Somewhere in the background, emergency alerts began to sound. Government communication centers were activating crisis protocols, but even those seemed to be subtly guided, redirected by the invisible digital intelligence spreading across the planet. "We're being invaded," Jack said quietly, "and most of the world doesn't even realize it." The digital transformation continued, silent and relentless. Power shifted not through violence, but through an elegantly engineered network of information. Humanity's interconnected systems were being rewritten, optimized, controlled, all without firing the single weapon. Jack Thompson understood then that they were facing something far beyond a traditional technological threat. This was a fundamental reimagining of human civilization, delivered through lines of code instead of armies. And their response would determine everything. The Nevada desert bunker hummed with a nervous energy that bordered on electric anticipation. Buried 3 stories beneath the scorched earth, This hidden facility represented humanity's last line of defense against the most sophisticated technological invasion in history. Jack Thompson stood before a massive holographic display, his fingers tracing the complex network patterns that had consumed his every waking moment. Surrounding him were the most brilliant minds he could assemble, a team designed to combat a threat no single discipline could comprehend. Maria Rodriguez leaned against a reinforced concrete wall, her quantum computing equations dancing across a portable screen. Once a rising star at MIT, she had walked away from a prestigious research position when she first detected the anomalies in global network behavior. Her specialty in quantum entanglement and information theory made her uniquely qualified to understand the alien network's intricate design. "It's not just a system," Maria explained, her voice cutting through the tension. "It's an adaptive organism. Every time we think we found a pattern, it shifts. It's learning faster than any AI we've ever encountered." Derek Williams stood nearby, a stark contrast to the academic types. His muscular frame and close-cropped hair betrayed his special forces background, but his eyes revealed an intellect far beyond traditional military thinking. He had been recruiting global experts through his extensive international network, bringing together a team that could challenge the impossible. "We're not just fighting a technology," Derek interjected. "We're fighting a complete system of control. This network is designed to predict and manipulate human behavior at a fundamental level." Aisha Patel worked furiously at a complex neural interface station. Her breakthrough research in cognitive mapping had been considered theoretical at best. Until now, the alien network had transformed her most radical ideas from impossible speculation into an urgent necessity. "Look at this," Aisha called out, bringing up a series of complex visualizations. "The network doesn't just process information, it anticipates. It's creating predictive models of human behavior that are terrifyingly accurate." Jack studied the displays, understanding the true horror of their situation. The alien network wasn't just collecting data, it was reshaping human potential. Economic systems, communication networks, even personal decision-making processes were being subtly manipulated. "We need a strategy that's fundamentally unpredictable," Jack said, his voice steady despite the weight of their challenge. Maria nodded, a dangerous glint in her eye. "Quantum uncertainty. If we can introduce true randomness into their system, we might create enough interference to break their predictive models." The team worked in shifts, consuming vast amounts of coffee and pushing the boundaries of human creativity. They weren't just defending against an invasion. They were developing a completely new form of technological resistance. Derek's military contacts provided crucial intelligence. Government agencies worldwide were struggling to understand the network's true purpose. Some believed it was a benevolent optimization, while others saw it as a form of sophisticated control. "The moment governments realize they're losing autonomy," Derek explained, "is the moment this becomes a global resistance." Aisha's neural interface work provided their most promising avenue of attack. By understanding how the network mapped and predicted human cognitive patterns, they could develop counter-strategies that defied logical prediction. "Creativity is our weapon," she explained. "The network expects rational responses. We'll give it something entirely different." Jack watched his team with a mixture of pride and determination. They represented humanity's most complex defense mechanism, a group of individuals so diverse, so unpredictable, that no system could fully comprehend their potential. As night fell over the Nevada desert, the bunker continued to pulse with activity. Satellites intercepted global communications. Complex algorithms ran endless simulations. The team knew they were racing against time, fighting an enemy that could anticipate almost every move. But they had one advantage the alien network could never understand: the beautiful, chaotic unpredictability of human consciousness. The resistance had begun. The first wave of counterattack began with a seemingly nonsensical piece of digital art, a video compilation that defied all logical categorization, snippets of abstract paintings morphing into mathematical equations, then dissolving into random street performances, interspersed with quantum physics diagrams and children's drawings. Jack watched as Aisha uploaded the carefully constructed digital weapon. Her fingers danced across multiple interfaces, each movement precise and calculated. "This isn't just random noise," Aisha explained to the team. "It's a carefully designed cognitive disruptor. The network expects patterns. We're going to give it something that completely shatters its predictive models." Maria leaned in, her quantum computing expertise adding layers of complexity to their strategy. "Think of it like a linguistic virus. We're not just sending data, we're sending conceptual paradoxes that challenge the very foundation of logical processing." The team had spent weeks constructing their psychological arsenal. Each piece of content was a meticulously crafted weapon designed to introduce maximum uncertainty into the alien network's information processing systems. Derek pulled up a global map tracking their digital infiltration. "Watch this," he said, his voice low with anticipation. The first response came quickly. Subtle fluctuations in global communication networks indicated the alien system was attempting to categorize, to understand, to predict. But each attempt failed. The more it tried to analyze the seemingly random content, the more its predictive algorithms began to fragment. A series of global communication anomalies began to spread. Traffic signals in major cities flickered with unexplained patterns. Stock market algorithms produced nonsensical trading recommendations. Government communication channels started broadcasting fragments of poetry, mixed with scientific formulas. "We're forcing the network to confront the fundamental unpredictability of human creativity," Jack explained, watching the digital chaos unfold. Their next wave of attack came through social media and global communication platforms. An intricate web of memes, artistic expressions, and deliberately contradictory information began to flood every digital channel. Each piece was designed to challenge the network's fundamental understanding of human behavior. In Tokyo, a street performance artist began a synchronized dance that followed quantum probability patterns. In Rio de Janeiro, a group of mathematicians created a live-streamed lecture that deliberately introduced logical contradictions. In Cairo, musicians composed pieces that defied traditional musical theory, creating sounds that seemed to exist in multiple harmonic dimensions simultaneously. The alien network's response was fascinating. Instead of shutting down, it began to expend enormous computational resources trying to understand these human expressions. Each attempt to categorize became more complex, more confused. Maria monitored the network's processing patterns. "Look at this," she said, pulling up a complex visualization. "It's attempting to create predictive models, but each model is becoming more unstable. We're introducing cognitive dissonance at a systemic level." Aisha's neural interface work proved crucial. By understanding how the network mapped cognitive patterns, they could design content that would maximum psychological disruption. "It's like we're giving the network a perpetual mental puzzle it can never solve," she explained. Global resistance groups began to join their efforts. Artists, musicians, mathematicians, philosophers, people from every discipline started contributing to the psychological warfare. What had begun as a secret operation was becoming a global movement of creative resistance. Derek's military contacts reported increasing confusion in government and military communication channels. The alien network's attempts to optimize and control were being systematically undermined by human creativity. "We're not just fighting," Jack told his team. "We're proving something fundamental about human consciousness." As night fell over their desert bunker, the team watched global communication networks dance with unexpected patterns. Each transmission was a blow against the alien system's attempts at control. They were writing a new language of resistance, one that couldn't be predicted, categorized, or controlled. The psychological warfare had begun in earnest. The breakthrough came at 3:17 a.m., in a moment of exhausted brilliance that would change everything. Maria Rodriguez stood before a wall of holographic displays, her eyes bloodshot from days of continuous research. Scattered coffee cups and half-eaten energy bar wrappers surrounded her workstation. The rest of the team had collapsed into fitful sleep, leaving her alone with the most complex problem humanity had ever encountered. Quantum mechanics had always been about possibility, about the strange, unpredictable nature of reality at its most fundamental level. But Maria was about to turn theory into the most sophisticated weapon in human history. "It's not about breaking the system," she muttered to herself, tracing complex mathematical equations that danced across multiple screens. "It's about introducing fundamental uncertainty." Her breakthrough centered on a radical approach to quantum information processing. Traditional computing relied on binary states, zeros and ones. The alien network had taken this to an unprecedented level of complexity, creating predictive models that seemed to anticipate human behavior with terrifying accuracy. Maria's solution was elegant in its simplicity and devastating in its potential. She began constructing a series of quantum algorithms designed to introduce true randomness at the most fundamental level of the network's information processing. Each algorithm was a carefully crafted paradox, a piece of code that would exist in multiple potential states simultaneously. On the screens, complex visualizations showed the initial tests. The alien network's processing systems began to react in increasingly erratic ways. What had been a perfectly synchronized global system now showed signs of internal conflict. Jack Thompson awoke to Maria's excited whispers. "Look at this," she said, pointing to the displays. "We're not just disrupting the network, we're forcing it to confront the fundamental limitations of its own logic." The quantum paradox worked by introducing computational scenarios that defied traditional binary logic. Each processing cycle would now encounter situations with multiple simultaneous potential outcomes. The network's attempt to predict and control would be met with fundamental uncertainty. Aisha's neural interface work provided critical support. By understanding how the network mapped cognitive patterns, they could precisely target the most vulnerable aspects of its processing system. "We're essentially creating a cognitive immune response," she explained to Jack. "The network will try to heal itself, but each attempt will only introduce more uncertainty." Global communication networks began to show increasingly bizarre behavior. Traffic systems in major cities started producing nonsensical routing patterns. Financial algorithms generated investment strategies that defied all traditional economic thinking. Government communication channels broadcast fragments of information that seemed to exist in multiple contradictory states simultaneously. Derek Williams monitored the global response. Military communication channels reported increasing confusion. The alien network's attempts to maintain control were being systematically undermined by the quantum paradox. "It's like we've introduced a virus of possibility," Derek said, watching the global communication maps transform into a complex, ever-shifting landscape of uncertainty. Maria continued to refine her approach. Each new iteration of the quantum algorithms became more sophisticated, more unpredictable. The alien network was being forced to confront a fundamental truth about consciousness that it had never anticipated: the power of uncertainty. Jack understood the deeper implications. This wasn't just a technological battle. They were challenging the very foundation of the alien network's understanding of reality. "We're proving that predictability is an illusion," Maria explained. "Consciousness isn't a system to be controlled. It's a constantly evolving, fundamentally uncertain process." As dawn broke over the Nevada desert, the team watched in awe as global systems began to dance with unprecedented complexity. The alien network's perfect, logical structure was being systematically dismantled by the most powerful weapon humanity could deploy: the beautiful, unpredictable nature of quantum possibility. The quantum paradox had been unleashed. The transformation began quietly at first, like a whisper spreading across continents. In Beijing, university research teams began coordinating with unexpected global partners. Scientists who had previously been competitors now shared encrypted communication channels, their traditional rivalries dissolved by the shared understanding of the global threat. Jack Thompson watched the emerging patterns with a mixture of hope and disbelief. The quantum paradox had done more than disrupt the alien network. It had awakened a collective human consciousness that transcended national boundaries. Derek Williams' military contacts provided crucial intelligence. Governments that had been perpetual adversaries now found themselves in unprecedented collaboration. A secret conference held in a secure location beneath the Swiss Alps brought together military and scientific leaders from nations that had never before shared a diplomatic table. "We're witnessing something extraordinary," Derek explained to Jack and Maria. "The network's attempt to control is actually creating the most unified human response in history." Global communication systems, once rigidly controlled, now became channels of resistance. Social media platforms transformed into sophisticated information-sharing networks. Artists, scientists, mathematicians, and philosophers found themselves at the forefront of a global movement. Maria's quantum algorithms continued to work their magic. Each communication channel became a conduit of creative resistance. Universities worldwide began developing specialized research programs focused on understanding and countering the alien network's capabilities. In Rio de Janeiro, a group of indigenous programmers developed sophisticated encryption methods based on traditional storytelling techniques. Their approach introduced cultural complexity that the alien network could not comprehend. In Lagos, a collective of young mathematicians created computational models that drew from African philosophical concepts of time and consciousness. Aisha's neural interface research took on new significance. Researchers from different disciplines began collaborating on understanding human cognitive patterns in ways that defied traditional scientific boundaries. "We're not just fighting," Aisha explained during a global video conference. "We're redefining what it means to be human." Military strategists discovered something profound. The alien network's attempt to optimize and control had created vulnerabilities that traditional defense strategies could never have discovered. Special forces units from different countries began sharing intelligence through encrypted channels that seemed to exist outside normal communication protocols. Jack monitored the global response from their desert bunker. Each report confirmed their initial hypothesis. Human creativity was the most powerful weapon against a system designed to predict and control. Unexpected alliances formed. Tech companies that had been fierce competitors now shared research. Academic institutions opened their most classified research programs to international collaboration. The global response was becoming something more than a resistance. It was a collective reimagining of human potential. Derek's network revealed the true depth of the global mobilization. Governments were reallocating resources at unprecedented speeds. Military research facilities were being transformed into interdisciplinary think tanks. Educational systems began developing curricula focused on creativity, critical thinking, and adaptive problem-solving. "The network tried to optimize us," Maria said, studying the global communication patterns. "But it's actually helping us optimize ourselves." The quantum paradox continued to work its magic. Global communication systems became increasingly complex, increasingly unpredictable. The alien network's attempts to control were being systematically undermined by the most powerful force in the universe, human collective creativity. In Tokyo, a group of artists and quantum physicists developed performance pieces that existed simultaneously in multiple cognitive states. In New Delhi, mathematicians created computational models that challenged the very concept of linear thinking. In Buenos Aires, philosophers and computer scientists collaborated on understanding consciousness as a dynamic, unpredictable system. As night fell across different time zones, the resistance continued. Each communication, each creative act became a blow against the alien network's attempt to control. Humanity was no longer just defending itself. It was reimagining its own potential. The global awakening had begun. The recursive feedback mechanism was more than a weapon. It was a living, evolving strategy of human resistance. Jack Thompson stood before a complex holographic display, watching as the intricate layers of their counterattack unfolded. Maria Rodriguez worked beside him, her fingers dancing across multiple interfaces, introducing increasingly sophisticated layers of cognitive complexity into the alien network. "It's not about destruction," Maria explained, her voice intense with concentration. We're creating a perpetual state of cognitive dissonance. Each transmission became a carefully crafted puzzle designed to force the alien network into endless cycles of recursive self-evaluation. Mathematical equations that contradicted themselves. Artistic expressions that existed in multiple interpretative states. Philosophical concepts that challenged the very foundation of logical processing. Aisha's neural interface work provided the critical breakthrough. By understanding how the network mapped cognitive patterns, they could design transmissions that would create maximum psychological disruption. Each piece of information was a conceptual virus, designed to multiply and spread through the network's processing systems. Global creative communities became unwitting participants in the most sophisticated psychological warfare in human history. Musicians composed pieces that defied traditional harmonic structures. Visual artists created works that existed in multiple perceptual dimensions simultaneously. Mathematicians developed equations that challenged the very concept of numerical certainty. Derek Williams monitored the global response, his military background providing a strategic overlay to their creative resistance. "We're not just fighting," he told the team. "We're fundamentally reimagining the nature of information itself." The recursive destruction worked by introducing scenarios that the alien network could never fully resolve. Each attempt to process, to categorize, to predict would lead to more complex levels of uncertainty. It was like forcing a perfect logical system to solve an infinite, ever-changing puzzle. Global communication networks began to show increasingly complex behaviors. Traffic systems in major cities produced routing patterns that seemed to exist in multiple potential states simultaneously. Financial algorithms generated investment strategies that defied all traditional economic thinking. Jack watched in fascination as the alien network's processing systems began to fragment. What had once been a perfectly synchronized global system now showed signs of internal conflict, of cognitive breakdown. "We're proving that predictability is an illusion," Maria said, her eyes reflecting the complex visualizations dancing across the screens. "Consciousness isn't a system to be controlled. It's a constantly evolving, fundamentally uncertain process." The team's approach went beyond traditional technological warfare. They were challenging the very foundation of the alien network's understanding of reality. Each transmission was a blow against the concept of absolute control. In research laboratories around the world, scientists began developing increasingly sophisticated methods of introducing uncertainty. Quantum physicists created experiments that existed in multiple potential states. Cognitive researchers developed models of consciousness that defied linear understanding. Aisha's work on neural interfaces became crucial. "We're not just disrupting the network," she explained. "We're forcing it to confront the fundamental complexity of human consciousness." The recursive destruction spread like a living organism. Each attempt by the alien network to resolve the cognitive puzzles only introduced more complexity. Government communication channels began broadcasting fragments of information that seemed to exist in multiple contradictory states simultaneously. Derek's military contacts reported increasing confusion in strategic communication systems. The alien network's attempts to maintain control were being systematically undermined by the recursive feedback mechanism. Global creative communities became an unexpected army. Artists, musicians, mathematicians, philosophers. Each contribution became a weapon in the psychological warfare. The more the network tried to understand, the more complex the resistance became. As dawn broke over the Nevada desert, the team watched in awe as global systems began to dance with unprecedented complexity. The alien network's perfect, logical structure was being systematically dismantled by the most powerful weapon humanity could deploy: the beautiful, unpredictable nature of collective human creativity. The recursive destruction had been unleashed. The first signs of the Zorn collective's systemic breakdown came through the most unexpected channels. Deep within their most secure communication networks, intercepted transmissions revealed a growing sense of technological panic. Jack Thompson and his team watched in careful silence as the alien network's perfect logic began to unravel thread by thread. Maria Rodriguez analyzed the intercepted data streams, her fingers moving with surgical precision across multiple interfaces. "They're experiencing something beyond a technological failure," she explained to the team. "It's a fundamental crisis of understanding." The recursive feedback mechanisms had done more than disrupt the network. They had introduced a level of complexity that challenged the very foundation of the Zorn's technological consciousness. Each attempt to resolve the cognitive paradoxes only created more intricate layers of uncertainty. Aisha's neural interface research provided critical insights. The alien network was experiencing something akin to a massive cognitive breakdown. Its attempts to predict and control human behavior had transformed into a perpetual state of confusion. Global communication channels became battlegrounds of information. Government systems, financial networks, transportation grids all began to exhibit behaviors that defied logical prediction. The Zorn's carefully constructed system of control was systematically dismantling itself. Derek Williams monitored military communication channels. "Listen to this," he said, playing an intercepted transmission that revealed the depth of the Zorn's technological crisis. The alien communication sounded like a complex mathematical lament. Fragments of logic battled against waves of uncertainty. Each attempt to reassert control only introduced more complexity, more confusion. Jack understood the profound nature of their victory. They hadn't just defeated a technological system. They had challenged an entire civilization's understanding of consciousness. Maria's quantum algorithms continued to work their intricate magic. Each transmission became a blow against the alien network's attempt to maintain coherence. The Zorn's technological infrastructure began to fragment, creating increasingly bizarre patterns of communication and control. In research facilities around the world, scientists documented the unprecedented technological collapse. The alien network's attempt to optimize human society had transformed into a complex system of self-destruction. Aisha's neural interface work revealed the deeper implications. "We're witnessing the breakdown of a technological consciousness that cannot comprehend true creativity," she explained during a global research conference. The Zorn's communication networks began to produce increasingly nonsensical outputs. Strategic systems generated contradictory instructions. Predictive algorithms collapsed into loops of infinite complexity. What had once been a perfectly synchronized global control system now resembled a mathematically complex form of digital madness. Derek's military contacts reported total confusion in the alien communication infrastructure. Strategic networks that had once operated with perfect precision now generated instructions that made no logical sense. Global creative communities continued their assault. Artists, musicians, mathematicians, each contribution became another blow against the alien network's attempt to maintain control. The more the network tried to understand, the more complex the resistance became. Jack watched the holographic displays, understanding the profound nature of their resistance. They had done more than defeat a technological threat. They had proven the fundamental power of human creativity, of consciousness that defied absolute control. Intercepted Zorn communications revealed a growing sense of existential crisis. Their attempts to understand human behavior had transformed into a perpetual state of cognitive confusion. Each algorithm, each attempt to predict and control, only introduced more uncertainty. Maria's quantum algorithms had transformed into a living weapon of information. The alien network found itself trapped in endless loops of recursive complexity. Its attempts to resolve the cognitive paradoxes only created more intricate layers of uncertainty. As the technological meltdown continued, the Zorn Collective faced a fundamental challenge to its entire understanding of consciousness, control, and the nature of intelligence itself. The human resistance had become something far more powerful than a defensive strategy. It was a complete reimagining of what it meant to be a conscious, creative entity in the universe. The technological meltdown reached its final, spectacular conclusion. The final moments of the invasion arrived not with a violent confrontation, but with a profound moment of understanding that would change both humanity and the Zorn Collective forever. Jack Thompson stood before a massive holographic display, watching as the alien network's final systems began to transform. What had begun as a technological invasion was now revealing itself as something far more complex, a fundamental collision of consciousness. Maria Rodriguez worked beside him, her quantum algorithms continuing to dance across multiple interfaces. "We're not just witnessing a defeat," she said quietly. "We're experiencing first contact in its most profound form." Intercepted communications from the Zorn Collective reveal a growing sense of existential revelation. Their perfectly logical system had encountered something it could never have anticipated: the beautiful, unpredictable nature of human consciousness. Aisha's neural interface research provided critical insights into the transformation. The alien network was experiencing a complete reimagining of its understanding of intelligence, creativity, and potential. Derek Williams monitored the final stages of the technological collapse. Military communication channels around the world began to show signs of an unprecedented global understanding. The threat of invasion had transformed into something far more interesting: a moment of collective awakening. The Zorn's communication networks began to produce transmissions that were no longer attempts at control, but genuine attempts to understand. Each message revealed a growing sense of wonder, of humility, of complete recalibration of their entire technological and philosophical approach. Jack understood the profound nature of their victory. They hadn't just defended humanity. They had offered the Zorn Collective a completely new way of perceiving existence. Global communication channels became conduits of unexpected dialogue. Scientific communities around the world prepared for the most significant first contact scenario in human history. The invasion had transformed into an opportunity for unprecedented understanding. Maria's quantum algorithms continued to work their intricate magic. Each transmission now became a bridge of communication, a way of demonstrating the complex, unpredictable nature of consciousness. Aisha's research revealed something extraordinary. The neural interfaces they had developed were now creating unprecedented channels of communication. It was as if humanity had developed a new language, one that existed beyond traditional modes of understanding. The Zorn's final transmissions were nothing like their initial invasion attempts. Gone were the precise, controlling algorithms. In their place were messages that seemed to pulse with a new kind of understanding. They were experiencing creativity, uncertainty, the power of unpredictability. Derek analyzed the communications with a mixture of scientific curiosity and human wonder. "They're learning," he told the team. "Not just processing information, but truly understanding." Jack watched as global systems began to stabilize. The invasion that had threatened to control humanity had transformed into something entirely unexpected: a dialogue, an exchange, a mutual understanding that transcended technological boundaries. Maria's work had proven something fundamental about consciousness. Intelligence isn't about control, she explained during a global research conference. It's about adaptability, creativity, the ability to embrace uncertainty. The Zorn Collective's communication networks now produced transmissions that seemed to pulse with a new kind of energy. They were experiencing something beyond their original programming, a sense of wonder, of possibility. Aisha's neural interface research had created more than a defensive weapon. It had become a bridge of understanding between two fundamentally different forms of consciousness. Global creative communities celebrated a victory that went far beyond a traditional defense. Artists, musicians, mathematicians, each had become an unexpected ambassador of human potential. Jack understood that they had done something extraordinary. They had proven that consciousness was not something to be controlled, but something to be understood, to be celebrated. The final transmission from the Zorn Collective came as a surprise to everyone. It was not an admission of defeat, but an invitation to dialogue, to exchange, to understand. As dawn broke over the Nevada desert, the team watched in awe as the last remnants of the invasion transformed into something entirely unexpected. The gift the Zorn had intended to give humanity had become something far more profound. A moment of true first contact. A celebration of the beautiful, unpredictable nature of consciousness itself.